What's up, meatbags? It's the often imitated, never duplicated Tony TGD coming at you with a video. This time we're looking at 5 memorable video games from my childhood. It's an article written by Tony TGD for the geekgetaway.com. I'll link the article in the description, but we're just going to take a quick look at it, discuss some of the games in here, and just have a good time like always. Now, right off the bat, you'll notice the author, he used a picture of FPS Doug from the Pure Ownage movie. You might be familiar with the Pure Ownage web series. They did do a movie. This is a still from that. I've had on occasion 2 of them to interview Joel F. Gardner, who plays FPS Doug. You can find those interviews on thegeekgetaway.com. I've also talked with the rest of the main cast. So those are also on there. So, always good things. We'll scroll down here, and the first game that we want to talk about is Ladybug. Now, Ladybug on the ColecoVision is something that I used to play a lot with my mother. That's one of the few games that she would actually sit down and play with us. And for some reason, she was just so much better at the game than all of us. She beat me, she beat my brother, she beat my father. She was just the Ladybug master. And we couldn't figure out how she was so good at this game. But, I mean, all the other games we played, she couldn't do it. She couldn't hack it. She didn't have the skills. But this one particular game, this was her game. She just dominated this game, and that's why it's really memorable. Because like I said, she didn't really play a lot of games with us. Playing video games really wasn't her thing. But she would play Ladybug, and she would play it like nobody's business. Now scrolling down here, we got pro wrestling on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Now this isn't the best wrestling game on the NES by no means, but it was one of the first ones that we got when we got the system. And I remember we'd stay up, late nights, just sitting around, me, my brother, my father, playing the game. My favorite character was the Amazon. I'd always use him. My brother, he liked Fighter Hayabusa. My father, he was playing Starman. We just play for hours and hours, losing, winning. I'd always complain that it was cheap. That I couldn't, hit the buttons as fast as everybody else. So I was always losing the grapples, and it was, it's always a big controversy that, you're cheating. No, you're cheating. But it was good times to be had by all. So, that's why it's memorable. I mean, the game was so integral to our childhood. The game was so popular in our household that my father actually stayed up all night. While we slept, he stayed up all night in our room playing the game, and he swears that he fought the Great Puma, the final boss of the game. And for years and years and years, he would swear up and down that he made it. And he never made it again. He never made it while we were present. He never made it, and paused the game so we could see it. But he swears that the one time he did, he stayed up real late, and he met the last boss. He couldn't beat him, but he got there. And we no one had ever got there before in the house. And we'd always, no, you didn't make it. You're lying. You're telling stories, Dad. We don't believe you. And it's funny because he would say, well, we would ask him, well, what's the last guy look like? Because, it's not in the book. You don't see what the last guy looks like. And he would say, well, the last guy has gray. He's wearing gray tights. And finally, like years and years later, when the internet came around and we were looking stuff up, we looked up what, the last boss looked like. And it actually fit the description. It actually was exactly like my father described. And finally, he was vindicated after so many years of telling the story and no one believing him. He was finally able to say, you know what? I told you guys, I made it to the last boss. So that's, that's the story about that. Now we go on to Jackal. Now this game, we played it in the arcade cabinets. So you're in the little Jeep, you're running around shooting guys, collecting POWs out of the houses. And me and my brother, we would go to the corner store where they had 3 arcade cabinets. They had Jackal, Double Dragon, and the last one, I believe, if my memory holds up, it was Pac-Man. I think it was a Pac-Man cabinet. But anyway, we would play Jackal. It's 2 players. We played at the same time. We played for, our parents would give us like $1, $2, and we'd go in there and we, you know, play for like 30, 40 minutes. We'd get better every other day because I mean it was just down the street. It was the corner store, and we just played for a couple hours, half hour, 45 minutes. And then we'd hang around, watch other people play. I don't think we ever beat it. We never made it to the end. I know it was a big deal when we found out that it was on Nintendo, so we got it on Nintendo and we played the shit out of it, but we never beat it. But it was a thing, me and my brother. It's one of the few games we would play together and actually, not beat each other up. Double Dragon is the other game. Now, like I mentioned, it was also in the arcade cabinet at the corner store. In this game, we actually made it all the way to the end. And I remember we got to the end, and there was no final boss. We couldn't figure out what was going on. And finally, after a couple seconds, we realized we had to fight each other. And boy, was that controversial because two brothers. He's like a year and a half older than me. We're always fighting over stuff. We're always jaw jacking with each other. So we're in the arcade, and now we got to fight each other for the final confrontation. And of course, younger brother wins. And my brother throws the biggest fit about it because, I beat him. He was like, it wasn't fair. He didn't realize that we were fighting each other. And so it was one of those things that had, little controversy in the household, but it was funny. And the last game I want to talk about here, it's a little, is Sim City. Now it's not really a traditional game. It wasn't something that you would think that people would be playing really heavy on, It was on Super Nintendo. You just build a city, you plan it out, you plan out the roads. It's really not something that you would think that, kids would really be into. This seems like, like some kind of adult, boring type game. But for some reason, everybody in the neighborhood, everybody was playing SimCity. We were trading different ways to design the cities. We were trading different, maps. Like, hey, you gotta check this map out. You gotta check, this placement of the industries, this placement of the commerce. And it was crazy that 10-year-old kids are out there talking about planning cities and how to build them. It was just weird. It was a weird game for the Super Nintendo that we were playing that you would think it would be aimed at, like I said, older audience, but for some reason we just we all gravitated. Everyone in the neighborhood just seemed to gravitate towards this game, and I really love it. I think it still holds up. It's one of the better Super Nintendo games. It's a little slow going in the beginning, but I think it holds up. I mean, and I would hope that this is the type of game that that would see a comeback. Something. The last SimCity, they got a little ahead of themselves. I think SimCity 2000 was kind of crap. It wasn't that good. It had the water pipes and all that. It was kind of shitty. But if they could just go back to like a SimCity, like the NES version, I would buy that in a heartbeat. But that's all I gotta say about that. I just want to talk about these games, talk about this old article that I found from this Tony TGD fella. On the Geek Getaway or some bullshit website or whatever. I'll put a link in the description, if you guys want to check it out. But that's all I gotta say about that. You know how we do it on the channel. Love, peace, booty grease. We out this bitch.